Hello people, today we are going to learn about how to make this scene in Blender. It looks like this. It's clearly some Lego bricks. If I may show you from up close, we have everything from the part underneath to the actual dimensions to the Lego logo on top, so everything is included in this video. This is the result you can expect from it. It's quite a good result too, as I think. Now this could be rendered with more samples, but actually I didn't do it because I didn't have the time. This is the second time I recorded this tutorial because I do it in two languages, so one on this channel, one on the other channel. This isn't a 10,000 samples, don't worry, this was like 700, but they stopped it there. So anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to open a new scene like this, and what you will need for this tutorial is GIMP or Photoshop. You will need this font. If I go to urbanfonts.com, Lego Thick, the link will be in the description. You're gonna need, as I said, Photoshop or GIMP. Well, in this tutorial we're gonna be using GIMP because I possess Photoshop, but I don't want to use it because it's paid, and GIMP is free, so it has a slight advantage. So let's actually get started. So basically we're gonna be modeling this after our reference. You can just look for Lego brick dimensions, or look what I'm doing. I will drag this to my other monitor so I can see what I'm doing better. We will select this cube. I will go to units and bring it to millimeters because this is what we use in Europe. And I'm going to enable my screencast keys. They are right here, so you can see what I'm doing. Middle click, right click, left click. So everything I do can be seen down here. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to click on our cube. We're going to go to items. Now we see it's 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. So what we're going to do is follow the reference, and it's apparently 31.8 millimeters long. It's 15.8 millimeters wide, and it's about 9.6 millimeters high. Now when we zoom closer we can see that we have our shape, but if we go too close the shape actually starts to disappear, so I'm going to set my clip start underneath the view panel to 0, and this makes it 0.001 millimeters, so you can go as close as you want and it won't stop and won't start disappearing. So this is actually the most we're going to do out of this cube. The rest will just be short adjustments. Now we're going to press Shift A or Control A, I'm sorry. Apply the scale. So when we go to item, this is not 1, this is not nearly 1. So we're going to apply the scale right here, and it gets set to 1. Now this doesn't affect this, but this affects all the modifiers we're going to add, and how the mesh reacts to the different operations we are doing to it. So now we're going to press Ctrl 7, which brings us to the bottom of this image, of this mesh. We're going to go to face select mode. You can toggle between vertex, edge, and face selection mode by pressing 1, 2, or 3 above your letters. So I'm going to press I, which gives us an inset. I'm going to do it like this. I like this thickness, so I'm going to apply it. I'm not modeling by actual measures anymore. I'm modeled by what looks good. So not everything has to be by measure, except when you're doing it for a client that wants to make something out of it. But unless you're doing that, just eyeball it. It's good enough. Now we want to add in a loop cut with Ctrl R and then bevel it with Ctrl B until it looks like this, and this thickness should be just as thick as this one over here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to press 3 on our number pad, go to this selection mode over here, and we select those two faces. Well, not those two, but actually the undersides of it. I'm going to press E to extrude, and let's extrude it to about here. So now when we go back to solid shading, we can see what we have done, and that looks pretty good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add in this cylinders. So you can see on another image, when you scroll down, you can see there are some cylinders down here. We want them. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in the cylinder by pressing Ctrl 7 to go to the view over here. Just let me turn on cavity. Cavity didn't do too much. Okay, then I'm just gonna eyeball it like this. Well, let's add in a cylinder with Shift A. Scale it way down. I'm going to scale it down in this view, and let's stop right at the point when this starts to disappear inside the mesh, like this. Now we can see this is outside of this, and what we can do now is we can scale it to our liking. When we have something that we like, we can do whatever we want with it. I'm going to put mine right over here, like this. Shift Z while scaling. I'm pressing S and then Shift Z to scale it along every axis but Z. So now I'm scaling it right to this point. Now I'm going to add in a modifier, an array modifier, set it to 3, and let's go up a bit and center it. What you will see now is that I'm just trying to eyeball it. I'm going to hit apply. Now what we can do is press F3, go to set origin, and origin to geometry. Now we have this Y and X value, and we just make it 0, and now it's perfectly in the center. Now we select our cube again, our initial brick, press Ctrl R right here, or let's actually not do that. Let's actually go to this cylinder, select these faces and these one on top, and delete them. Faces, and then we go to the modifiers, select solidify, Ctrl A, rotation scale. We see it's way too thick. Let's make it 0.5 millimeters. That looks good. Now what I'm going to do is hit apply, and now we can cut away this inner stuffing that we get. I'm going to add in 2 loop cuts with Ctrl R, and then I just was spinning the wheel on my mouse to get more cuts. And basically what I'm doing here is I'm scaling them along the y-axis while they're still selected, so I can delete these faces here, and now I'm only left with a brick that looks like this. Fill in this face, and while this is not perfect, it's certainly good enough. Just bring this out, or we could actually bring it in like this, and then fill in these faces by selecting the top row, and this is actually going way too fast. Selecting the top row, like this. Let's actually see it from this side. We're going to select the top one and then hit F, and it fills it automatically. Now we're left with this, and we should be good to go. Yeah, like that. So basically what we're going to do now is we're going to make sure this is not intersecting, because if it is, we have to bring it down, but as it seems, it's actually... is it intersecting? I don't think so. So that is good. Now what we're going to do is add in the cylinders on the top. We can just select these ones and this, press Ctrl J, so they're one object, shade smooth, and we're going to fix the bad shading later, or we could do it now by adding a bevel modifier to 0.5 millimeters, add in more segments, and that is still too much. Let's try 0.1 millimeter, 0.2, 0.1 was good. So by adding in these, we get more refined edges, but we see the inner side of the cylinders are looking weird, so we're gonna press an angle which only bevels edges that have an angle that is more than 30 degrees. So now we can add in the top cylinders, which we are going to do by... wait a minute. Okay, these are intersecting in fact, so we will have to grab them by pressing Alt and shift clicking them. And pressing G and Z to bring them down slightly. Okay, now when we press 7 we should see nothing but a plain surface. We press Shift A, add in another cylinder. Let's make it smaller, way smaller. Like this. Now by pressing G and Control while moving them, we can set them. We can set the cylinder wherever we want, like this. Bring it out a bit, like this. And now we're gonna hit an array modifier, like this. Bring it out a bit. Now let's add in a mirror modifier and set the object offset to cube, which is this here. Wait. So we did the array. Now we have to apply the rotation and the scale. Mirror object, cube. Now X and Y. Now we can scale this a bit. I think this looks better. The array, we can move it closer, so this distance is equal to this distance. Like this. Yeah, like this. I'm liking this, so I'm going to apply the array and add it in object mode, and then the mirror. Now we have this. We can press shift click on the cube and then press Ctrl J to join them again. Press shade smooth and we have it. We have a Lego brick. Now comes the part where we actually get the Lego logo on the Lego. So how we're going to do that is we're going to open GIMP, and we already see what I did here. My interface is in German, but you should have no problem understanding what I'm doing, because I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. So I'm going to go I'm going to open a new project over here. Just press new. The width is 700 pixels and the height is 300. There is actually no point in going further up, because we're not going to use the pixels. We're just going to use the location data, and therefore the pixels are absolutely unnecessary. So if you go full 4K with it, it's not going to help you anyways. It's just gonna make you more work. Now we're going to press the A, which lets us draw a bounding box to write in. I'm going to write on Lego in all caps. Going to double tap it. Then where it says sans serif or any other font, I'm going to write in Lego. And it says Lego italic. I just hit enter. And now I can, while this is still selected, make my font size bigger. This is good. Now select any other tool. And now what we can do is, if we go to layers and right click them and click on alpha to selection, we can see that we have selected only the black parts. Let's make this transparent by hiding this bottom layer. So, but we want to paint inside of that. I'm going to hide this as well actually, and open a new layer down here, set the fill type to transparency. Now we're going to go to selection and invert. What we're going to do now is actually we're going to go to our pencil and just fill that in. We could use the bucket tool, but the bucket tool is kind of weird in GIMP and it doesn't really do its job properly, so I like filling this in manually so I can get a better result. I'm just going to speed through this. You get the idea, just don't draw over the line, make sure it's all nice looking, so you get the best results. See you in a bit. So now that we did that, we can go to selection and none. Then we can go to this, right click it again, and then alpha to selection. Now we can go to selection and we can hit to path or selection to path. I don't know how it's translated, but you get the idea. Then down here where it says layers, channels and paths, you go to path. Right click the path and export path like this. I'm going to call mine Lego 3.svg, like scalable vector graphic. Why Lego 3? Because I did one for my testing, one for my other tutorial in a different language, and this is the third time I'm making this, so there you go. So we have Lego 3.svg on our desktop. What I'm going to do now is actually look if it's there. Yeah, it is. And we go to Blender, hit File, Import, and Scalable Vector Graphic, SVG. Go to Desktop, Lego 3, and here it is. If we go to Top View, oops, I just hit it. GZ, I'm just going to bring it up. Hit F3, set origin, origin to geometry, and I'm going to move this right here, rotate it by 90 degrees on the z-axis, bring it down like this, and just make it a bit bigger like this, center it, and we're good to go. Now we can go to this path. Actually, we don't need this full resolution. If you look at it, make it way smaller, it's going to lose its quality, so we want to give it a bit more iterations. Something like 6 is okay, or maybe 5. 5 is just fine for this, except if you're making a super high resolution one, then I would go to 6 or 7, but 5 is just fine. Then we're going to hit F3 and convert to mesh from curve meta surf text. Now we have a mesh, or we don't have a mesh, but rather we have vertices, which we can select with alt click, then hit F to fill them. Let's do this with every one except the O, because the O is a special one, and we're going to delete this vertices, because you cannot select this and then hit F, because it's going to make some weird stuff. So we're going to undo that, I'm going to just select this, delete the vertices by pressing X and then vertices, select all of this, E, S, make this smaller, then I'm going to scale it along the y-axis. We're going to select all of this, press E, S, make it smaller, then press S, Y, make this smaller along the y-axis. Now it's a bit too even. We want to make it curved, and then so we're going to rotate it along the z-axis like this, maybe a bit bigger, and that looks fine. Now we have a Lego logo that actually looks like the Lego logo. I'm going to bring this down like this, hit E, then hit A on your keyboard, so everything is selected. If we look at it, nothing is selected now. I'm going to hit A, now everything is selected again. I'm going to press E to extrude it straight down, no matter how deep. I'm just going to do it like this, then press G, Z, and move it down like this. Doesn't matter if it intersects or not, just make it look pretty. Then when I'm satisfied with this, I'm going to hit shift click on my cube, then press Ctrl J again, and there we have it. Shade smooth, but now we can see that we're having issues with this. So I would suggest undoing that, because now our bevel is gone. So I'm just going to hit shift Z until it's all back to normal again, go to the modifiers and apply the bevel. Now we can actually join this with Ctrl J, and yeah, what we're going to do is just select all of these vertices, or the edges rather, and just hit Ctrl B to bevel them. I'm just gonna add in a few segments like this. Do this to the E and the G and the L too, like this, and we're fine. All looks good. Yep. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select all of the letters, and I'm just going to duplicate them by pressing Shift D like this. Actually press L right here and just hover over the letters and hit L so you can select everything. Then Shift D, X, bring it over, Shift D, X, bring them over, and Shift D, X, bring them over one final time. Just make sure they're centered and you should be good to go. So this looks nice, and we have our Lego brick. Now we're going to add in the plane like this. The size shouldn't matter. We're going to bring it up like this, and now it's just a matter of placing our Legos, because we're not going to do it by physics, we're going to do it by hand because this is way faster. Just go to orthographic view by pressing number pad 7, so you can shift them on the z-axis if you're in this mode, and just duplicate them and paste them in different orientations. None should actually be in the same direction, because that's not how physics works. Except you align them all in one order, but we want chaos. Now what I'm going to do is add in one that actually is rotated differently. So I'm going to press Alt R, which resets the rotation. Then I'm going to rotate it along the x-axis by pressing R, X, and 90, like this. And I'm going to bring it up like this. So now we have this, and I'm going to make a few of those as well. So I'm going to fast forward so you don't have to look through all of this. Now I'm actually going to rotate one by duplicating it, hitting R, Y and 30, and now I'm just gonna put it somewhere else. So now that we've done that, we should just be able to well, I'm still seeing my cylinders popping through here, so I'm just going to grab all of them, press Ctrl L to link the object data, and now if I change one of these, or here, better example, if I change this, you see it's going to apply to all of them. So what I'm going to do is take all of these cylinders and move them down slightly until I don't see them anymore at the top. This should do, and now we are basically done with the modeling part. Now we go to the shading workspace. We see everything is pretty bland. There is not much to it. We can change this by applying a material to all of them. Let's actually select all of them and hit Ctrl L and materials. Now what we can do is add an object info, put in the random and the color. Now we can see it gives it different kinds of grayscale, but we don't want that. We're going to add in the color ramp. Well, nothing actually changes until we go to this website right here, replicable.com/colors, and now we can see the actual color codes of Lego bricks. So I'm just going to zoom through here, grab some colors I like this one, so I'm going to select this RGB code, press Ctrl C, go back into Blender, select the black color, go to hex and paste it in here. So now we have this. Now we can select the white handle, we can go back to the website, and I would like to have a green one, just like this. Maybe this, I like this. Again, copy it by pressing Ctrl C, in here pressing Ctrl V. This is green. Now I want another color, I'm going to select this. Now go back to your browser. I want a yellowish color, like this, and yeah, I'm going to paste it in here. Now what I want to do is I'm going to add in a red one. Red is here, I like this. These are the actual hex codes for the actual Legos they use, so they're going to look like actual Legos. But you see, we have this color transition and the colors are not really pure, so we can change this from linear to constant. You see, now it's just one constant rate, and if we change this up a bit, it's going to change completely. Now we have no green, so we grab the green and bring it over here, and this looks good. Now I'm going to go back to my camera, move it a lot closer, just like this. I wanna get this brick here really near this green one. So now I'm going to add an HDRI, and first of all delete the light we have here. Right click and delete. Now we're going to press this dot next to the World tab, go to Environment Texture, hit Open, go to the folders to which you have saved your HDRIs, and select your HDRI. It's that simple. Now we're going to go into rendered mode, but first of all we're going to select cycles, and I'm going to save this just in case it crashes. Blender tutorial 2. So now I'm going to rendered mode to look at what I have. Now I'm pretty much liking this, but the lighting is actually pretty bad because the light is not coming from the right direction. So I'm going to go to this world tab. Before it was on object, now it's world. Click anywhere, and then click on this. Press Ctrl T. You can only do that if you have the Node Wrangler add-on, and you can only do that if you have the Node Wrangler add-on installed. You can do this by going to Edit. You can do that by pressing Edit Preferences and then looking for Node Wrangler right here. And now what I'm going to do is just simply rotate this around like so. Now I'm going to rotate this as long as I don't have a result I like. You should find an HDRI that suits your needs. I can put this one in the description. You can see it's a bit pixely because it's only 4K and it's actually a 360 degrees image. So if you want a sharp background, which you want to see in your render, make sure to download an 8K one. But if you want that sweet blurred background like I have it, then I would definitely say go for 4K. You don't need more because it's gonna get blurred anyways. So now we have that, which looks good. We're going to press here, we're going to press here, which actually sets the 3D cursor. And then we're going to add in an empty. Select the camera, go to depth of field, and type in empty at the focus object. Now we're going to see that we have a really blurred background, which I don't like actually. I like myself some blur, but not that much, so I'm going to set it to F8. The higher this number is, the clearer the background is going to be, or the less depth of field there is going to be. So I'm going to set this to F8 and give this a quick render. I'll see you in 5 minutes. So after rendering this scene at 300 samples, I got up with this result. I think it's fairly decent. There is some pixelation over here, or rather noise, not pixelation, and you could get rid of it by cranking this up to like 900 or 1000 samples. But anyways, I hope you liked it and learned something, and we will see each other in another tutorial. See ya, bye.